Welcome to This Explainer. If you're a focused learner looking to unpack smart, highly efficient business models, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're exploring a seriously lucrative opportunity, and we're going to do it by breaking down the blueprint for starting a business without the massive, prohibitive capital most folks think is required. We're talking about stepping into the high-end transportation game, but doing it in a completely revolutionized way.
So how do you start a car rental business without buying a single car? I know, it sounds a bit like a trick question, doesn't it? For decades, the myth has been that entering the car rental industry requires millions and millions in startup capital. You know, the idea that you have to buy a massive fleet, secure huge lots, and take on enormous depreciation risks, right? Well, that massive barrier to entry is exactly the problem we're about to solve today. What if that lack of startup funds isn't a dead end, but rather an invitation to use a much smarter strategy? Section 1. The zero-car rental business, busting the capital myth. Think about those gorgeous luxury vehicles you see at weddings or VIP events. Here's a secret. A massive percentage of the time, those premium rides don't actually belong to the rental company providing them. It all boils down to a fundamental concept called an asset-light business. Basically, it's a model where you generate revenue by leveraging assets owned by others, rather than purchasing your own. I mean, think about the reality of car ownership. Lots of people own these premium, expensive cars, and for the vast majority of the week, those vehicles just sit completely idle in a driveway or a garage. Those owners are sitting on depreciating liabilities, and believe me, they are highly motivated to earn some extra income from them. Your entire business model relies on that exact motivation. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 2. How the partnership model works, the middleman strategy. We know the owners want cash, and we know renters want cars. Your role is simply to connect the two in a practical day-to-day operation. It's essentially a three-step dance. Step 1, you actively partner with those idle car owners. You pitch them on making their asset actually work for them. Step 2, you become the customer acquisition engine. You're the one bringing in the clients who need VIP transport, and you seamlessly manage their bookings. And Step 3, you earn a commission on every single successful rental. You handle the logistics, they provide the asset, and everybody gets paid. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the financial potential we're about to uncover. Section 3. Doing the math, projecting your profits. 15%. Literally burn this number into your memory. In this specific blueprint, 15% is the standard commission rate you're going to earn on every successful rental you facilitate. Sure, it might sound a little modest at first glance, but when you apply it to the daily rates of high-end luxury vehicles, it compounds incredibly fast. Let's actually break down this concrete math together. If a premium vehicle, let's say a Fortuner, for example, rents out for a daily rate of around 18,000 Pakistani rupees, your 15% commission means you pocket approximately 2,700 PKR from just one single booking. Now let's scale that up slightly. If your goal is to manage just 20 bookings in a given month for that specific vehicle, you are generating around 54,000 PKR in monthly revenue. And that is from just one single vehicle. I really want to emphasize this again. You generated that cash without owning a single tire, paying for the car's initial purchase, or suffering a dime of its depreciation. Pretty wild, right? Section 4. Requirements and legalities, the reality check. All right, we've talked about the exciting upside and the highly scalable math. But look, there is friction, and there are rules to this game. So the crucial point is understanding the absolute difference between an amateur side hustle and a legitimate business. The amateur assumption is that you just throw together a WhatsApp group, invite some friends, and start matching cars with clients. But the reality is that to protect yourself and run a truly sustainable operation, you have to meet legal requirements. Depending entirely on your specific city or province, you're very likely going to need an official rental business license or specific transport permits. You absolutely must check with your local transport authority and get these sorted out before taking your very first booking. No shortcuts here. That being said, the barrier to entry remains incredibly low. Let's rapid fire through your actual startup requirements. You might want a small office, though honestly, even that is pretty much optional when you're starting out. You absolutely need a reliable booking system to keep schedules straight. You need basic, rock-solid documentation and contracts to protect both the car owners and yourself. And, most importantly, you need a marketing budget. Notice what's entirely missing from this list. Millions of rupees to buy a fleet of cars. The investment is minimal, but it is highly strategic. Section 5. The ultimate success factor. Driving your business forward. If the barrier to entry is so low, and you don't even have to buy the cars, what actually separates the people who make a few thousand rupees from the heavy hitters building massive profitable networks? Well, it all comes down to one overarching element, and this brilliantly illustrates the core truth of the asset-light model.
The strongest engines of this business are marketing and networking. Because you aren't relying on a giant visible car lot on the side of a busy highway to get foot traffic, your personal connections and your promotional strategy directly dictate your booking volume. The stronger your network with car owners and the sharper your marketing strategy to find event planners, corporate coordinators, and VIPs, the more bookings you'll secure and the more money you'll make. You are in the business of trust and visibility just as much as you're in the business of cars. Which brings us to our final takeaway for you to apply today. What does it cost per day to rent a Civic, a Fortuner, a Land Cruiser, or maybe a Haval H6 right there in your city? I want you to go do that research right now. Find those daily rates in your local market, calculate your hypothetical 15% commission, and suddenly you're going to see exactly what your potential profits could really look like. It's a game changer. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep pushing, and I'll catch you next time.